has reportedly identified the chief of Pakistan-based terror group Jaish-e-Mohammed as one of the handlers of the terrorists who launched the deadly weekend attack on the Pathankot Air Force Base, according to news agency PTI. Evidence linking the Pathankot and the Afghanistan consulate attacks, considering them as a twin attack against India, in particular to undermine the government's AFPAC policy. Let's move on to our second big focus tonight as the markets nosedived for the fourth straight day and analysts talk about a sharp fall in new investments. The government reached out to the Congress for an early start to the budget session to push the critical tax reform, the GST. The Congress dismissed it as mere optics. Is there no hope then to end the GST deadlock, or is it now or never to revive India's economy?
The Parliamentary Affairs Minister met Sonia Gandhi this morning over the goods and services tax, a single tax which will create a unified market across India. The government is ready to convene Parliament earlier than the usual last week of February if the Congress supports GST.
उनको याद दिलाया लास्ट टाइम जो डिस्कस हुआ उसके हिसाब से कांग्रेस पार्टी अपना स्टैंड तय करना चाहिए. उन्होंने कुछ इश्यूज रेज किया उस समय, उस इश्यूज का वित्त मंत्री ने जवाब दे दिया.
This meeting in December did break the freeze on GST, billed as the biggest tax reform. But the Congress is still firm on capping GST at 18% and making it a part of the Constitution, removing 1% tax that manufacturing states can levy, and an independent dispute resolution mechanism.
अब लिखित रूप में हमें बता दें कि जो हमारी मांगे हैं वो मान रहे हैं. It is better not to have a GST than a flawed GST.
The government hinted that they are willing to address Congress's concerns on the GST, but it is still not clear if it has accepted all the three changes suggested by the Congress party. The Congress on its part says that they need more time for internal discussions both on the GST and on the prospect of an early session of Parliament. In New Delhi, Sandeep Phukan, NDTV.
Well, joining us tonight from the BJP, Nalin Kohli, Sunil Alag, independent marketing consultant and member FICCI, also with us. Tom Vadakan, spokesperson for the Congress, joining us, as is M.K. Venu, founding editor of thewire.in. Let me begin by asking the Congress. The Parliamentary Affairs Minister today reaching out to the Congress President, saying government is ready for an early start to the budget session, asking for a response. What else will it really take for the government, for you to say that the government is serious about building consensus on GST?
Look, let me be very candid and explain to you what transpired and the duration of the meeting. This entire meeting, by the stopwatch, was
Can't hear him at
4
all.
minutes. The Parliamentary Affairs Minister of
All right,
India.
I'm afraid there seems to be some problem with the audio there, so we will try and fix that. But let me just get a view in from the BJP in the meantime. Nalin Kohli, do you think now that between the Prime Minister's last attempt, the Finance Minister's attempts to reach out to the Congress on the GST, and now today the suggestion of an early budget session of Parliament as well, the government for its part has reached out in as many ways as it possibly can to the Congress?
I think we need to see this entire issue in totality.
Yes.
On an we need to segregate political stances of political parties. The second part of it is the economy. And then, of course, there's the attempt by the government. Yes, the government has been reaching out, and Mrs. Sonia Gandhi and others had accepted the invitation to have a cup of tea with the Prime Minister during the last session. Today, the Parliamentary Affairs Minister has met. They've raised their concerns. The government has also responded on those concerns. That's an open public space. The economic part of it is that globally we are seeing a meltdown, we are seeing issues in the economy. The World Bank, others all see India as a bright spot. India is poised for that, and that therefore means that the Indian economy does well. It's good for Indians. And that's bipartisan. There's nothing political about it. I don't think anybody can say we would not like to see Indians benefit from an economic growth that would go down and help everyone. Now let's come to the politics of it. In terms of the politics, obviously political parties, whether it's the BJP, Congress, anyone else, will be entitled to have a position that makes sense to them politically. However, beyond the politics, in this issue, there is a benefit of the country, and I think the global community, Indian community, everybody see GST as a major game changer. So the question that needs to be answered is, what is it that's preventing GST from happening? The government is keen, many political parties are keen. It's not happening. The Congress has a viewpoint. On that viewpoint, efforts have been made. So therefore, we need to segregate the political stance, which political parties may have, and see how does it substantively work in the interest of the country.
Would you like to respond to that, Tom Varakan, politically obstructionist?
Well, it's a very interesting point of view raised by my friend from the Bharatiya Janata Party, Mr. Kohli.
No, of course.
Let me be very candid. This entire meeting lasted 4 minutes by the stopwatch. The Parliamentary Affairs Minister of this country, not the Bharatiya Janata Party, spent more time outside with the media explaining the issues that were discussed. But let me put two things on the table today, and very candidly too. A, there was no discussion about preponing Parliament session or a joint session. There was, I repeat and reiterate, there was no mention of it.
Okay.
As to the question of the GST, for the information of Mr. Kohli, what happened there was Mrs. Gandhi broached on the subject and said, we had discussed it with the Prime Minister, we had raised this issue, you have not got back to us. The clarification given by the Parliamentary Affairs Minister of this country was, I will get back to the Prime Minister. So it's like an HMV operation, the HMV company that used to be in existence. He had to check up. And now the photo opportunity, the optics of it. See, optics, a lot of people in the Bharatiya Janata Party have said it's part of our play. But tell me the outcome. If you really are serious about GST, even your chief economic advisor has advised and flagged on certain issues, and there's almost agreement. But if you have a problem with the RSS and other people, tell the country so. Why are you passing the buck onto the Congress all the time? And you want a diversionary tactics?
Let Nalin Kohli respond to that. The Congress saying that, the RSS, the Swadeshi Jagran Manch are all opposed to the GST. You would find it better to blame the Congress for the disruptions and the delays. And is it then just a matter of managing optics?
Well, I have a few adjectives for that point of view. It's inventive, it's very inventive, it's innovative, and it's highly democratic, because that makes a fascinating excuse that the Congress party finally is finding itself in a position that they feel the RSS's stand would bail them out. The RSS is not in the Parliament of India, and the RSS certainly has not stalled parliamentary work. So that's why I said it's inventive, democratic, and extremely innovative. However,
Mr. Kohli, it was called constructed television image.
Let me finish.
Constructed television image is what we call in the mass media to this kind of activity.
I didn't interrupt you.
Okay, please, carry on.
Interrupt. Let me finish it. Yeah, I'm sure we will have more opportunities on this debate. Anyway, the second part is, certainly I didn't know that, meetings between the president of the Congress party and anybody else is measured in seconds and minutes. However, that is news also to the country. That the meeting has conveyed, you've conveyed a point of view. Mr. Venkaiah Naidu, as the Parliamentary Affairs Minister, did call on her. And I think nowhere he has said that he has told the Congress. The idea is that at the end of the day, Parliament wants it, everyone wants it, then a session may be called early. It's not as in this sense. And last of all, the Prime Minister is the Prime Minister of the Council of Ministers. So a minister and his council would obviously say that I'll refer to him. That model is changed where they don't refer to the Prime Minister and refer to the party president. I'm
going to take this beyond the spokespersons now. MK Venu, markets plunging for the fourth straight day. The rupee down 15% since the Modi government came to power. New investments down. Today, the World Bank saying no GST will affect the government's ability to ramp up infrastructure spending as well. Are we now no longer sort of sensing a big sense of urgency really to get this across? Because, we have the Congress saying the same things, we have the government saying the same things. Where does that leave the GST?
Ankita, I have this this suspicion that that even the BJP feels it supports the GST, it is trying to push the GST, but deep down the BJP also has a fear that a half-baked GST or not a perfect GST, which Jaitley himself said there's no need to have a bad GST, a flawed GST, having no GST is better than a flawed GST, can lead to grave risks to the economy like higher inflation, etc. Now, given these risks, I feel that the 3 points that the Congress party has made, which anybody will tell you, they actually help in creating a better GST, a lower rate. And in fact, Mr. Jaitley had gone one step further. Recently, some paper reported that he wanted a 15.5% single rate GST. But anyway, keep that aside. So I am a bit puzzled as to why there is no consensus around some of the
narrowing down the difference.
Yeah, some of the issues which actually go towards making a better GST. And Chidambaram recently said that the cap on 18%, English is a very good language, it can be worded in such a way that it doesn't create any problems in future when it comes to amending the constitutional amendment. So a solution can be found, and good drafting can produce a good solution. There I again go back to this, what he just said. Tom said that there was a 4-minute meeting. Now, a 4-minute meeting does not resolve such issues. They have to sit together at least for half a day and thrash out all the tricky issues, and through good drafting, they can come to a consensus, because the chief economic advisor, what he proposed recently, the framework, also helps, is in line with what Congress is saying. It gives you flexibility in terms of 3 taxes, So it's not even a single tax that they are proposing. So, but I am surprised that people are not moving forward on this. Even the government,
all right,
the government is not moving forward on that.
Nalin Kohli, the idea seems to be that both the political parties are really not moving forward on this at all. Are you at all optimistic that differences can be narrowed down?
I disagree. Of course, it can be narrowed down, and I disagree
and what's
with Venu
being,
on this
what's being
point.
done to do that?
It's already narrowed down.
On both, I'll answer. Yeah, I'll answer both on both.
Yes.
I'll answer on both. One is that the government is not making an attempt. I think the whole last parliament session has gone in this, and other parties have also been voicing their concern. The Congress has raised some points. Obviously, those points have been looked at. Those messages are out there. Now, if that's not moving forward, then what is? I can't understand how Venu calls that the government is not moving. The second part is in terms of, can differences be narrowed down? Of course. Parliament has also functioned. The Rajya Sabha has been horribly stalled in the last 2 sessions. Prior to that, a lot of work has been transacted in the Rajya Sabha, also in the budget session. If work has transacted there, it means all political parties, and that includes the Congress party as the principal opposition party, have contributed to that. It's not a one-way street. The same thing we've seen in the Lok Sabha, even in this session. So therefore, it is possible. The question is finding that mix and also the political will. Now, if that political will is beyond the merits of the GST, is related to, that's why in the beginning I said there may be political reasons that may have nothing to do with GST per se. That's something that's beyond it.
All right. We come back to, of course, the political reasons and the obstructionism, though, of course, Nalin Kohli doesn't use that word. But Sunil Alag, if we are now confronted with a scenario where the GST rollout deadline is now deferred to, say, April 1st, 2017, which is also being talked about, what kind of message will that send out?
Look, as far as I'm concerned, I think there's a whole lot of misunderstanding. The way I understand it is that the constitutional change is first what you go through. Why are we discussing how much percent and whatever else? That will come in the bill.
Right.
But you're not even passing it in the constitution. And everybody started debating about 15%, 16%. That will be the bill. Now, how about getting the constitutional amendment through? Then the government will present the bill. That's when the debate will take place, whether they've done it right or wrong. And I'm finding that, look at the bill that they passed on this age of 16 and 18. It's when people lie on the road, then everybody opposed various things, but they passed it in Rajya Sabha in a hurry because they knew they won't get the votes. Now, do all the industrialists, that everybody have to go down and lie down in parliament to say, please pass the GST? This is utter nonsense what is being discussed on this debate, because I know of people who are going to put $1 billion into this on cold storage, and they said GST would make it easy because they had set up their head office in one state and they'd move the goods around. And because this has not gone through, they've gone $300 million has gone to Colombo, $300 million is going to China, and another 300 is going to Burma. We are losing, and nobody is bothered about the nation
so this
anymore.
Was the sense of
this is it.
This feeds into
Pass
the sense of
bill
urgency
like
that I was talking about. An actual flight of capital.
Nobody is passing
in
the
the
bill.
absence of the GST being passed.
Ankita, I think I don't entirely agree with Sunil. 18%, the drafting of 18% being the cap, which is the Congress demand, needs to be finessed in a language which does not which is not disruptive in a future context, legislative context. Now that has to be addressed in this at this stage itself. So Sunil is not entirely right when he says that rates have to be looked at later. Yes, the details of other rates have to be looked at later, but at least there is the single point on which now there are differences between Congress and the BJP, which is how to finesse the rate cap into the current constitutional
amendment. Okay, when we talk about, without going into the details and the nitty-gritty now, when we talk about finessing, when, for instance, the finance minister says he is more optimistic of the bill passing in the next session because halfway through that session, the Rajya Sabha's numbers will change. How do you respond to something like that?
He wants the opposition to shrink. In fact, he is technically saying that the Congress will be lesser in numbers. So, I mean, that shows that what you need is a consensus, not that you wish your enemy dead. That's no way, that's no solution. And in a democracy, when you speak to each other and not speak against each other, you talk about your opposition party to shrink, and you have Bharat Mukt Parliament, Congress Mukt Parliament, and what have you. That's no way to go about. And the finance minister.
All right, Sunil Alag is disagreeing vehemently. Go ahead.
All I'm saying is, look, I know the Chief Minister of Bengal wants it, the Chief Minister of Bihar wants it, the Chief Minister of UP wants it. The only one stalling it is the Congress. Now, whether it's in Rajya Sabha or anywhere, please understand that it is all the Chief Ministers that I've mentioned actually want it. And Congress is saying my way or the highway. If you don't accept all three of my problems, I will not pass it. So come on, how can we reach the stage of democracy by minority? Democracy by majority has to rule now. And it's about time that everybody woke up, and the GST is not political. It's to do with the average person on the road. He will pay less for all his goods. The price will come down. The consumer wants it, and everybody wants it. So what is holding it up? Just pass it as a constitutional amendment and debate it in Parliament as to what the rate should be. That I'm all with you. Don't let it go to 16. Say it should be 14. But this constitutional amendment you all are holding up, and you all willingly pass a whole on that 16-year-old world. Everybody woke up in Rajya Sabha and said we don't agree with it, but we are passing it because of votes. Bring it down to that then. Admit that that's the only thing that's holding it up.
All right,
quick
last response.
Mr. Alag, I want to remind you that you talked about the Chief Minister of West Bengal, but let me remind you, a few years back, the then Chief Minister of Gujarat was the same person who opposed it tooth and nail. Okay, so now we want this thing through. It was the Congress president who broached on this subject on what is happening on our objections. And they said, he said that he will go back to the Prime Minister. It is this government that has to get back.
The consumer wants it, industry wants it, the Chief Minister wants it, only the Congress doesn't want it.
No, we do want it.
That's all I'm
saying. But do something about it.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay, last comments to Nalin Kohli, because I'm completely out of time. Go ahead.
Well, as first is, of course, yes, of course, Mr. Modi had opposed it. I can say that here. There were other BJP chief ministers also, like Madhya Pradesh, Mr. Shivraj Singh Chauhan had opposed it. And one of the concerns, Tom, is the issue of with history is you have to look at it in the context. If the concern is that you give away your revenue and you have no guarantee of the revenue being coming back to you, then you would be at the mercy of the center, which was not desirable, because today one party may be there, another may be there. So the matter was a principle, not of politics. The second part is that I was smiling a little earlier because Tom perhaps inadvertently let the cat out of the bag. I wonder. Because in saying Congress Mukt Bharat is a political slogan, but to almost say Bharat Mukt Congress makes one wonder whether what is benefit for Bharat, that is India,
that is what
is
your
something that we should not consider.
Your finance minister said.
All right.
That's what he wants. He wants the Congress.
We've never said Bharat Mukt Congress. That is the Congress.
The issue is he wants
we're completely deviating. We're completely deviating from the subject at hand. Of course, there's still a substantial legislative process that has to be completed even after the Rajya Sabha passes it. It has to pass the states test as well. So perhaps we're going to be debating this for some time to come, even after the budget session of Parliament. We'll leave it at that for tonight. Nalin Kohli, Tom Vadakan, MK Venu, Sunil Alag, thank you for joining us tonight.